As many of you will know, my family and I visit our home in France at least once a year. During our stay, we invariably make a sojourn to some location within the country with which we may be unfamiliar. My wife Alison is always great at organising these sort of things and manages to get some cracking locations organised. 2018 was no exception, and for a few days we lodged in the rather beautiful commune of Saint-Emilion that lies in the north of the Dordogne. It has a population of 1,938, is a World Heritage UNESCO site. It has 12 monuments of historical interest, but is perhaps more universally known for its production of wine. One morning, I woke early to the most beautiful clear blue sky. I quickly changed and went out for a walk. There was hardly a soul on the streets in the centre of the commune. As I turned the corner of a street, I noticed a black, shadowy figure approaching me with a loaf of bread wedged under his arm. It was a sight I had never seen in the 30 years that Alison and I have travelled around France. There he was, in broad daylight. A young priest, perhaps in his late 20s, dressed exactly as I do, confidently as I do, pottering down the road, completely unabashed at his appearance and what that appearance points towards. So we started chatting, and I soon discovered from this young priest that in his community of St. Martin at Évron, south of Paris, established only in 1976, there were, under the age of 40 years, another 115 priests, plus another 115, mostly under 30, in training and working and ministering in 33 parishes scattered around France. I was quite frankly amazed, but also very encouraged by the thought that so many young men were offering themselves in the sacramental service of the Church. Whatever we may think about their sartorial accoutrements and their setup, there are two words that come to mind when I think about members of this community. And those words are commitment and conviction. They seem to share a burning desire to share with others what is the most important thing in their lives, the love of Jesus. So often, Christianity, I'm sure you will agree, can be understood as a sort of armchair discussion between theorists sat around very privileged tables about probability, symbolism, or myth. Members of a sort of small club that looks for new ways to understand the message that has been handed down from those first eyewitnesses of the faith to us in the 21st century. An armchair hobby that seems to have no real connection with the ordinary man or woman in the street. It is difficult to imagine that it was this approach that propelled with such energy the likes of St. Paul, St. Peter, St. Andrew, St. James, and many others into the ancient Mediterranean world with such conviction. These first apostles gave up everything. They endured suffering, they underwent persecution, and most of them were put to a very grim death. They did not do this for a theoretical idea, and their commitment was not grounded on some dead man that symbolises the presence of God. They were convinced by the events that they had experienced: Jesus' life, his teaching, his death, and his resurrection. The numbers at Évron are not very great compared to the population of France as a whole, but a small group of committed and convinced Christian people can achieve a very great deal. Obviously, you don't have to wear a cassock to be a committed or convinced Christian. What we do need, though, is a heart that is turned to Jesus, that tries to live by what he said and accept him for who he actually is. Not a symbol or an idea or an interesting teacher, but a real person who lives at the very heart of his people, which is the church, you and me. So then, keep the faith, and as you pray for me, I shall surely pray for you.